But are we surprised that the dogs are pooping on the floor? Like, this is a person who spends most of her time on Instagram and online dancing and twirling with literal knives, with hardly any clothes on. If a dog's taking a dump in the background, I mean, that's just the vibe.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cheer Denise. It is Friday, and that means we've got lots of stories to talk about. So many things in the news, so many stories to discuss, so many things I saw that I thought I gotta talk about it. I couldn't wait for today. I can never wait for Friday. But here's one of the things that I saw come across my newsfeed that I was very excited to bring you because this is a story we've talked about before. Several weeks ago, we talked about Tyler Perry and this accuser who had come forward named Derek Dixon. Derek Dixon is suing Tyler Perry for $260 million. Derek Dixon was employed by Tyler Perry, and Derek Dixon says that Tyler Perry had made unwanted advances on him. And that even after telling Tyler, "I'm not interested," Tyler continued to come after him and use Derek's dream of being an actor and a screenwriter as coercion against Derek. So basically, he had lured Derek in, given Derek what Derek wanted, and then began to hold over Derek's head. If you don't comply, if you don't give in, if you don't let me have my way with you, I will start to take away the dream that I've let you taste. You've had a taste of the dream, but I'll take it away if you don't give me what I want. So that was the foundation of this $260 million lawsuit. And we had talked about that previously and gone through some of the text messages. To my knowledge, Tyler Perry has never been a homosexual man. I have never known him to be a bisexual man. I don't know a lot about Tyler Perry, but I've never known him to be a gay man. So I think part of the story is supposed to be, oh my gosh, can you believe that he made advances on another man? 100% I can believe it. If there was anybody out there, if someone was like, okay, I'm going to give you two guesses. Who do you think is the gayest man in Hollywood? I'd have said Tyler Perry. You know, it's like, duh. I don't understand why that is even part of the story. But anyway, to me, the real concern here is that one, he would make advances on an employee, but then two, he would give this young guy access to his greatest dream and then use that against him. This is how it all played out. Derek Dixon was a struggling actor, and as part of the work that he was doing to keep himself afloat, he worked for this events company, which is something a lot of actors will do. A lot of actors will work for event companies, catering company, and then the hope is that you'll be at an event and you'll be serving these people. You know, it's these beautiful young women and men, these struggling actors, and hopefully your hope is that some writer, some producer, somebody with money, prestige, a director, somebody will see you at one of these events, see your good looks, and be like, hey, I should approach that person, maybe that person. So it's kind of like a working audition where you are basically auditioning your looks and hoping that any of these people will pick you up. That was Derek Dixon. So his dream comes true. He is working at this event, and who should approach him but Tyler Perry? Tyler Perry says, "Are you an actor?" Now, Derek Dixon is very chiseled. He looks like somebody you would probably give a second look to. He's almost so good looking it's a cliche. But anyway, Tyler Perry sees Derek. "Derek, are you an actor?" Derek's like, "Well, not a working actor, but I'm trying." And Tyler Perry's like, "Not anymore, actually. Not anymore. I am going to give you a job." And he does. And he ends up putting Derek in a starring role in one of his shows. Okay. Derek also, in his relationship very early on with Tyler puts him to work, and Tyler sees him coming to work in this old beat-up Jeep. Tyler literally buys him a new car because he's like, that car you're driving is like, you can't be seen in that. You know, I'm going to make sure that I take care of you. Buys Derek a new car. Okay. It would appear that Derek and Tyler are pretty close because they're texting each other. And Derek says that pretty early on, he was getting text messages from Tyler that left him uncomfortable. But they weren't anything you could really argue with him about or take umbrage with or show somebody else and be like, the other person would be like, oh my gosh, you know, that's totally inappropriate. It was things like Tyler fishing for compliments.
Where he's on the jet ski. Well, I said, "Nice picture." And he said, "Yeah, the water looks calm." And he said, "Nice picture. You don't see that stud in that picture? Rude." And I said, "LOL, yes, that's a stud." And all these texts, I tried to de-escalate them and make a joke out of them.
But then there would be other things that were more problematic. Exchanges where Derek is being given advice from Tyler about how he needs to not be so guilty when it comes to carefree sex, that he should just go and enjoy himself, find out what he likes. Tyler says things like, I wish I could help you understand, what it feels like. I wish I could make you feel good. Like weird things that if you ever got from your boss, you'd be like, this is insane and this person is preying on me.
One of them says, what's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Have y'all found that in therapy yet? I would hope that you would let someone hold you and make love to you.
But Tyler knew that Derek wanted so desperately to be in a position as a working actor, and also Derek had a dream to be a screenwriter, that Tyler knew Derek wasn't going to run away from this opportunity very easily. Now, I want to really shy away from putting too much blame on Derek because I understand that his dreams were playing out and that he didn't want to rock the boat. But it does feel like it was very evident that Tyler had kind of marked him as a potential sex buddy. And instead of leaving that environment, Derek kept hanging around Tyler in circumstances that were outside of work. So a scenario that continued to come up was he would be hanging out with Tyler at Tyler's house. They would be drinking, and then Tyler would say, you should stay over. You can go and be in my guest house, and you can just stay because I know you're living in Atlanta right now. That's a far drive from here. Just stay. I'll put you up for the night. But this happened repeatedly, and then when he would stay, stuff would break down, and Tyler would be making advances on him. There was one time when Tyler walks Derek to his room, walks him to the guest house. Derek is getting into the bed and he's ready to go to sleep thinking that Tyler's going to go back to his house. And then Tyler gets in the bed with Derek and starts rubbing his leg. And Derek leaps out of the bed and says, I am not interested in that. I do not want that. Now, he's very clear in this interview that he does that he's not opposed to the idea of somebody making a move. Derek is gay, and so he's not offended that somebody would make a move like that on him, but he's not interested in a relationship with Tyler. Tyler is his boss, after all.
I mean, I think it's okay that people try to make a move or shoot their shot, but if they get rejected, I think that they should stop. And so I thought it would stop after that. And it did.
So he's not bringing a lawsuit against Tyler because of the nature of the advance, or even that Tyler made advances on him. He doesn't blame anybody for that. It's just that he was very clear, like, no, but Tyler didn't care that the answer was no. After that, Tyler starts telling him, I could just kill your character off in this show that you're a star in. I really could. So you need to think really carefully if you want to be in a relationship with me. Because if you're in a relationship with me, things can come of that for you. But if you decide to spurn my advances, I can make things very difficult for you. As well as being on the show, Derek also was an aspiring screenwriter. He had a show that he had written. He'd written a pilot for a show, and he had told Tyler about it. Tyler, having a production company, said that he was in a position to make this happen for Derek. So Derek at first was a little embarrassed to show Tyler his screenplay, but then he gave it to him. Tyler said it was great. Tyler was getting ready to film the pilot for this show. So he had two things up in the air with Tyler. One, he was a star on one of Tyler's TV shows, and then Tyler said he was going to help Derek make his program. So it's very easy to want to say, Derek, get your ass out of Tyler's house. Don't talk to him. Go to work. Do your job. Don't have a relationship. But it was very clear that if Derek was going to remain in the employment of the Tyler Perry Productions, then he was going to have to play Tyler Perry sexual games as well. Things got a little bit scary for Derek because at one point on the show, after he had denied Tyler's advances, Tyler has a scene written in where Derek is being shot 4 times in the chest. And it was very clear to Derek that Tyler was saying, I can make it so that you'll live in this show or die. I can make your career live or die, literally, so you should probably do what I say. Then it got even crazier because at one point when Tyler had Derek over for another dinner at his house, it got late, they'd been drinking, both were a little drunk. They were walking over to the guest house. Tyler had this scale. It was kind of like one of these really advanced scales that measures all kinds of things on your body. And as they're walking past it, Derek says, "What's that?" And Tyler says, "Oh, that's the special scale, but you have to take all your clothes off in order for it to work. Come on, let's get your clothes off and you can try the scale." And he starts taking off Derek's clothes and he pulls Derek's underwear off and starts grabbing him. In the interview, Derek says that Tyler grabbed his butt. So I don't know all the things that went on, and he doesn't give a lot of description in the interview. He does talk about how he was panicked, didn't know what to do. He didn't know if he should run, if he should freeze, if he should fight. Tyler kept being like, "Come on, let's do this thing. Come on, let's just do it." And Derek was saying, "No, I don't want to. Give me my clothes back. Like, let me pull my underwear back up. No, 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 I don't want to do this." And Tyler kept pushing him, pushing him. Finally, Derek gets away and hides out in the bathroom that night. The next day, he got several calls from Tyler. He wanted to ignore the calls, but he was also really afraid that if I ignore his calls, then he's going to get anxious. He's going to think that I'm going to, that I'm angry or something. And then in his desire to get me before I can get him, he's going to cut me out of the show. He's not going to make the pilot he said he was going to make. So he calls Tyler back. Tyler is super apologetic. "I don't know why I did that. I just have this sabotaging tendencies. I shouldn't have done that, man. I'm really sorry. I'm asking if you'll just forgive me." And then he says to Derek, "But Derek, you need to make your no stronger." And Derek's like, "No, man. I said no so many times. Over and over and over I said no, and I said it. I didn't want you to do it. I didn't want any of that, and you kept pushing me." And Tyler's like, "Yeah, but sometimes it's hard to tell, some people say no, but they really mean yes." Whatever. What are you even talking about? At a certain point, it just became clear that Derek needed to leave. So he left the employment of Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry, even though after the incident where he pulled Derek's clothes off and he calls him the next day and says, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. You should have made your no stronger." But he also assured Derek in that conversation, "I am going to make your TV show." He wasn't going to make no TV show. And to this day, because Derek gave over the rights to Tyler, Tyler has all the rights to that project of Derek's. And now Derek can't do anything with it. So that's hard for him because he worked really hard on it. He gave it to Tyler. Tyler said he was going to make something with it. Now Tyler's not planning on it, but he also holds all the rights to it. So Derek lost that as well. The interviewer on this ABC show asks Derek, "How did you get to the $260 million number?" And Derek says, "I lost income on this. I lost work on this. And so it's for that." He said, "But I also made the number large enough that hopefully Tyler Perry would be forced to stop in his tracks. It needed to hurt in some way. This is a billionaire and he's just going to keep on doing this. And if I make it where it hurts and it gets his attention, then maybe he'll stop doing this to other young employees of his." They also talk too about, what is the after effect of this for you, or how did this affect you? And Derek said that the whole time he was in employment of Tyler Perry, Tyler was calling him and texting him every day. And there was always this pressure to give a positive response to everything that Tyler was saying because he wanted to keep his job. He wanted to begin to grow as a screenwriter. And so it always felt like he had to sort of placate this neediness from Tyler so that he could give Tyler just what Tyler needed, but also not cross any of his own boundaries. And so there was a lot of anxiety and depression that went along with this whole thing. When I first read about this lawsuit, I thought those are really weird text messages and definitely cause for pause. This Tyler Perry is obviously going after Derek in a sexual way, but I thought, I don't know how you come to a $260 million lawsuit because somebody texted you a couple of things and you were like off color. Because I think all of us have been in situations where somebody has sent us a text message and we're like, you're dancing on that boundary, aren't you? And then we just move on from it and we don't have anything to do with that person. So I wasn't sure how, based on uncomfortable text messages, you got to a number like that. But now that we know that it was physical altercations, it was Tyler Perry physically coming to him, physically touching him in inappropriate ways, climbing into beds with him, pulling his underwear off. We got problems now. Okay, we got $260 million worth of problems. That's a lot of money. But I do understand why he says, because he lost work, he lost projects that Tyler won't give him back now. And then of course there's just like, we have to deter this psycho who's over here employing people with the express purpose of just kind of keeping them along as a playboy. So I'm interested to see how Tyler Perry is going to deal with these new accusations. I think he's going to still try to downplay, Derek as this kind of D-list actor who, these people will say anything. They're just kind of the scum of the earth. These loser actors who are just probably a bunch of drug addicts anyway. And he's just making up stories and trying to take some of my billions. But, just don't pay any mind to him. But I don't think Derek's going anywhere. Because Derek seems very affected by this. And there was one point in the interview where I felt bad for him. He was talking about how he feels embarrassed and he feels shame at having to come forward because, of course, there's going to be lots of people who question him and question his motivation and why did you stay so long? And he said even he's questioning why he stayed so long.
There's a lot of shame, I think, around it. And just trying to think what you could have done better and having to deal with the judgment of what, everyone might think of how you could have handled it better.
But it's just one of those things where you want so desperately to see your dream fulfilled that you're willing to let that be a coercion point when you shouldn't. And I think there's so many of us, especially when we're younger, where we can think of times in circumstances where we stayed in relationships, jobs, friendships, where we knew that there was manipulation happening, but we stayed in it because we thought, but maybe this is the only way to get what I want, And as you get older, you realize you cannot compromise your value, your virtue, and your integrity based on a dream, because if your dream requires you to sacrifice your values, your integrity, and your virtue, then that's not a dream you ought to have had. If there's no other way to make it happen, it's not meant for you. Okay, let's continue. This is another story that I was like, I gotta talk to y'all about this. We gotta sound off. I need all y'all. I need y'all in the comments on this one, okay? Because this one was crazy to me. I saw Dax Shepard. Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell, and they're the cute little couple from Hollywood and have those darling little girls, and he's got his podcast and she's got all her movies. And I like Dax and Kristen. They seem like nice people. They seem like they have their heads screwed on right. They seem like they understand each other. They don't seem like the perfect couple, but they also seem like the type of couple that has perfected the imperfection. That because they're two human beings in a relationship, it's not always going to go smoothly, but they're going to talk about it. They're going to deal with it. They're going to be open and honest, forthcoming with each other, and not be scared of the other person's feelings. And so I feel like I really like their relationship in a lot of ways. And I always have. So I was astounded when I saw a clip from his podcast, which I don't watch on the regular, but sometimes when little clips will come up, I'll watch what he has to say. I saw this one clip come up, and in the clip, he was talking about how he imagines what he would say about Kristen, and he thinks about this a lot. If they ever broke up, how would he describe their relationship? And he goes on to say that he would say positive things about her and about the relationship, that it's been amazing.
I say this all the time. If Kristen and I ever split up, I would only describe this as still an enormously successful relationship.
Yes.
We loved each other to death. We had these two beautiful children. Yes. We had this great time together.
Yes.
And I would really feel like I was dishonoring it if ever we were not together.
What? Why in the world would you spend any time trying to figure out what life would be like if you decided to break up with a person that you are in what appears to be an incredible relationship? Why would you spend any of your time imagining what you would say to the public if it didn't work out with you and your beautiful wife, who you love? It doesn't even make sense to me why you would waste mental energy on that. Are they unhappy? Are they going to break up? This is a person who has therapized himself to the point where he now has run out of actual problems, and now he's imagining pretend problems and what he would publicly say and how he would articulate that. And this is, I think, a person who has spent so much time articulating and therapizing feelings and emotions that now he's gone on to potential problems and the potential need to articulate the actuality of crisis. But here's the problem, Dax. You're in a happy relationship. At least I think you are. I can't imagine ever in all of my life sitting around, if I were in a happy relationship, sitting around imagining, what would I say to the public if? if I just didn't have a relationship with this love of my life anymore? How would I talk about our relationship? Well, I'd say it was really good because it was. I'd say she was amazing because she is. Our kids are beautiful because they are. We were super, super happy because we had been. Like, if that's all true, how do you, like, is there not any bigger problem that you could use your mind's energies for? It isn't even as though he were saying I would then have to describe to the public why it had not worked. And I'm trying to imagine what I would say to make people understand why. It wasn't even any of that. I just didn't even get it. But just tell me. Have any of you guys who are in good relationships ever spent time imagining what you would say to the world if it didn't work out with you and your spouse? I can't even imagine ever wasting time like that. And do you think this is an indication that they aren't as happy as we think they are? Because to my mind, the only way I could ever imagine sitting around trying to figure out how I'd explain my decision to other people is if that decision had ever been something I was trying to work through. But if I'm in a perfectly content situation, I'm not trying to imagine tragedy. Believe me, there's enough problems in daily life that I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to manage. I can't fabricate problems out of very good, lush, beautiful areas in my life. I can't imagine, well, when that crumbles, how will I explain it? This is pathological. Like, this is weird. And I think this is what happens to people when we have too much therapy. When we're talking too much about ourselves all the time. These are the problems that we end up having, where we are now trying to therapize and discuss great places in our life, and well, what would happen if? Is this the outcropping of too much therapy? I don't understand this. Does anybody get this clip? Please explain it to me. I know that they are very honest and clear and open about problems they've had. He's always been very clear and open about sobriety. Even when he had like slip-ups and stuff, they were open and honest in their dialogue about what that had been like for him, what that was like for her as she found out, but as she supported him back onto the road of sobriety. Like, they're a very transparent couple. So it would surprise me if they had a problem, like some deep-seated problem, deep enough that they would break up, because they've had issues before that might break up other couples, but they seem to forge ahead. What does this mean? Something else I saw on a podcast, all the podcasts were having conversations this week, as per the usual, but sometimes they're more interesting than others. And another conversation I saw being had on another podcast that was very confirming to me, and I think will be confirming to you as well, because it confirms some info we already knew, was that Rosie O'Donnell was on a podcast. It was a No Filter podcast, and she was talking about her relationship to Ellen DeGeneres. Now, we know that Ellen DeGeneres should be called Ellen DeGenerate, because she has degenerated her life and from being a glowing star to a person that no one can stand, because as it turns out, she's a very hateful individual who was verbally abusive and was unkind and was mean and manipulative, and is quite scary, honestly. Ellen DeGeneres is somebody who's been in on some stuff, and I think that if we don't find about it in this world, we will in the next. She had her fingers in some stuff that was super sketchy. And she cared about building her career at the cost of anything. And so I think that Ellen DeGeneres, if somebody had said, sell your soul to Satan, she would have been like, where do I sign? And so Ellen DeGeneres is somebody that people don't like. And even if she wasn't doing the most nefarious thing she could ever do, her treatment of people is enough to strongly dislike her. Well, Rosie O'Donnell was talking about it, and she said that she and Ellen had been really good friends for years. And that when Ellen had finally come out, said that she was a lesbian, she came out on her show. Other people weren't standing next to her because at the time when she came out, there wasn't this whole cultural, shift. But Rosie had stood next to her, and Rosie had supported her, because Rosie was obviously living a lifestyle. But then Rosie goes on to say that even though she'd always been a friend to Ellen, and that they'd been very close in real life, and that she'd stood next to Ellen in Ellen's time of need, one night Rosie was watching TV, and she was watching the Larry King Live, and he was interviewing Ellen DeGeneres. And this is what happened.
Larry King asked her, and Kelly and I were in bed watching it, and he asked her, whatever happened to Rosie O'Donnell? Her show went down the tubes. And Ellen said, I don't know, Rosie. We're not friends. And that was like one of the most painful things that ever happened to me in show business in my life. I couldn't believe it.
Color me not surprised. I'm not surprised. Of course, Ellen denied knowing Rosie. Ellen was trying to start her own show. Rosie O'Donnell's show had just completely flopped and had disappeared. And Ellen didn't want to be associated with anybody who was a failure in Hollywood when she was trying to climb the ladder up. But isn't that a snaky thing to do? To deny somebody that you knew? And Larry must have known that Ellen knew Rosie, because what a random thing to say. Oh, whatever happened to Rosie? Why would you ask Ellen? Unless you knew that Ellen might have an answer as to where Rosie was. Why would you ever just you only have like 5 minutes on these late night talk shows. You got all your bits already planned out. You can't just have random conversation for the sake of random conversation. For Ellen to deny even knowing Rosie when she and Rosie had been friends for years, and Rosie had stood next to her at a time when Ellen felt very vulnerable, what a snake thing to do. Ellen is just the literal worst. Speaking about a couple of people who are the literal worst, this week I saw Kathy Griffin and Chelsea Handler having a conversation about how they're planning on continuing to animate their corpses. Kathy Griffin was able to stitch herself together effectively enough to, sit up in a chair and have a conversation, but she does not sound good. She was with Chelsea Handler, and she said that she was like 3 weeks post facelift or something. And, Kathy Griffin has never shied away from talking about all the work that she has had done. The amount of time she has spent getting her face cut on is probably more time than we have spent collectively sleeping. She has had her face carved on. It feels like every other week she's getting something done. So Chelsea is talking about how it's time for her to get some work done. And so they're sort of swapping tips about what needs to be done for their faces.
5 weeks ago, I had a facelift.
So fresh off a facelift.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm about to do a little nip and tucking myself. I need my neck a little bit.
I got the neck pull.
Yeah.
It's painful. Is someone cutting the back of your neck open.
Back of your neck.
Pulling it as hard as they can.
I thought they go through right here.
Yes, here. I have a little left over here, but I also have one back there.
Oh.
And so it's a yank. My guy told me that it would be 3 months till I could go on camera. Well, here I am. I did do the hyperbaric chamber every day.
You just told me that 2 people exploded in hyperbaric chambers.
2 people have passed away in hyperbaric chambers.
See my ears, how they're a little bit flappy? They look like labia. Whatever we're talking about now, when I do my neck thing, I'm going to get my ears trimmed. Because they only get longer as you get older. Not very common for people to do, but the people that I've asked, including a plastic surgeon, he goes, you should definitely take care of that.
I didn't even know that existed. It's kind of genius.
Those 2 crones, I don't know if anything's going to help you. I don't think shortening your earlobes is exactly the point of salvation that you think it is, Chelsea Handler. We look kooky because we're carving on our faces day and night. Imagine how her face wouldn't look like a papier-mâché project if she had just let herself age gracefully. Yeah, she'd probably had a couple of wrinkles, but is this better? And even though she's made up her corpse and put her wig back on properly, is this better? Can we just stop acting like it's the end of the world if we have a few wrinkles? We're literally injecting poison into our faces. Botox is poison. So that it'll plump up our skin so that we can pretend that we're young again. Well, we're not. Okay? We're not. But you know what comes with age? Grace, dignity, wisdom. And I just feel like, what if we spend as much time trying to cultivate grace, dignity, and wisdom that we do on trying to pretend that we're 21 years old? We're not. We're old. I'm old. Okay? I mean, I don't have 1 foot in the grave, but I got a pinky toe in there. I'm getting there. And it's just going to have to be okay. When I get to be whatever age Chelsea Handler is and Kathy Griffin, I just want it to not be about my elongated earlobes. I just need it to not be about that. Speaking about other things that were pretty depressing, Britney Spears is in the news again. And not because of her weird dancing videos. Every week it's a new video of Britney dancing. They need to just cut it already. We know she dances weird by herself and stares into the camera with her drug-fueled gazes and her smudgy makeup and her strange extensions. It's not a story anymore. But the story this week was that Britney Spears is living in a literal poop mansion. It is pretty gross. There were pictures. I don't know if this is just because she's always got that camera going and so somebody snapped a couple of screenshots, but there's pictures going around of her with all her little dogs, and the dogs just poop freely around the house. Now, you guys, what is the deal with the little dogs? Are those little dogs not able to be house trained? I feel like everybody who I've ever known who had a little dog, there was always like a poop in the house type of situation going on. And like those little pee poop pads, people with little dogs have those. I feel like I see that a lot. Now, I haven't been in everybody's house, so if your dog is effectively house trained, well done you. But I just feel like it's like a frequent issue. They're always up in the house doing their business. Like cats, except they don't even have a box to do it in. So her and her little dogs, she hasn't even, I guess, provided them a pee poop pad for them to use as their designated area. It's just feces galore. But are we surprised that the dogs are pooping on the floor? Like, this is a person who spends most of her time on Instagram and online dancing and twirling with literal knives, with hardly any clothes on. If a dog's taking a dump in the background, I mean, that's just the vibe. If I don't need to have pictures of her dogs defecating all over the floors to know that's her reality. I already thought that it probably was. Now this is evidence of it, but anybody who's dancing with a knife in a thong with their wild eyes and their bad extensions probably does have a teacup poodle pooping in the corner. She needs help. She needs some real help. And I feel bad for her. I mean, I legitimately do. I don't know what she went through. We read her book. It wasn't illuminating. So I don't know what literally happened to her. But something did, because just because you were famous at a young age, that doesn't mean this happens. And that's the same thing for a lot of celebrities. The wildness and the mental degradation that happens is not because you got too much attention when you were little. It doesn't mean you turn into somebody who cannot function when you're older. And enough of this already. You know, we have Jessica Simpson, who has also had some modicum of fame when she was younger. Obviously not the Britney Spears level, but she was running that circle for a short amount of time. And she's not a complete insane person. She has some problems, but problems that I feel like are proportional to being famous and wealthy at a young age. You know, she drank too much and stuff like that, and she's a little crazy, but she's not out of control, like she cannot function. Speaking of Jessica Simpson, she's really trying to make that career work, you guys. She's really trying to make it happen. And I think what is surprising to me is what makes her think that she can come back now and make it happen. Somewhere along the lines, someone told you that she was a powerhouse singer at some point. Let's review the tape. She wasn't. So why now is she coming back expecting that she's going to pick up where she left off? She didn't leave us in a good place last time. So it isn't like we're just hankering to hear the voice of Whitney Houston again. You know? This is a person who could act like she was belting it out, but she was croaking like a frog. It's amazing to me they keep trotting her out. Most recently, at the VMAs. You guys, can we talk about something that is so irrelevant? The Video Music Awards, I mean, really. Especially on a week like this, it was just such a traumatic and horrific week. I mean, can anybody even remember that the VMAs happened? Well, they did. And we need to talk about the fashion and the style. Of course, Jessica Simpson was there. You know, she's like, it's been years since I've been here. Can we talk about her eyes? What is wrong with her eyes? They're like this all the time, and they don't blink, and they're very excited. But I don't know if that is that, I mean, was there a facelift or something that happened that pulled her skin back so much that she can't blink her eyes? But her blinks are like, but they're not real blinks. Look at this. She is shot up with so many drugs. She's on something. No, something is animating her. And her eyes are frightening to me. It's just too much of the eyes. But we got to talk about the VMAs, mostly because that fashion was whack, per the usual. Let's start with Ariana Grande. You guys, if learned helplessness had a face, it would be Ariana Grande. Why does she paint her eyebrows on like this? What is this insane clown posse look? I don't understand this, okay? Now, I've had varying degrees of failures and triumphs with my own eyebrows, but I don't understand the continual use of this shape. And why is it always like, please don't hit me. please don't hit me. Like, she has a look all the time of just put upon helplessness. She has a look all the time of like, I'm just a scared little child. I'm just a baby. I don't understand what happened. When did she decide to slick her hair down and paint her eyebrows and always wear this almost comically scared look all the live long? I feel like something happened when she got on the Wicked tour and she got trapped and she ain't coming back out. Because Wicked is over, but she's still stuck in that look that she had on the tour, and this is not the way she looked all her life. This is not Ariana Grande. She used to look like this. If you'll notice, her eyebrows are normal, and now she looks like this with these little pizza slice eyebrows. What is this? Okay, I don't understand. I also would like to know what the hell with this speech that she gave. Your therapist and gay people? First of all, I take umbrage with whatever your therapist has been telling you. If you have one, you need to get a new one, okay? She's failed you. But also, gay people, what? How? Of course, InStyle magazine can't, yes, queen, about that fast enough. They're like, motherfucking retweet. InStyle, take it down a notch. You embarrass yourself on the regular. InStyle magazine, for some reason, I know you guys, and we've talked about this many times, they make me so annoyed. I should not be so annoyed by some magazines' dumb takes on the internet. But the things that they get like so passionately excited about, Ariana Grande coming out and saying at the VMAs, I just want to thank my therapist and also gay people. And InStyle's like hustling over, yes, queen, motherfucking retweet. Please, InStyle. I can't. I also need to talk about her dress. I need the 90s polka dots to go away. The entire silhouette here. And I'm not opposed to some throwbacks from the 80s and the 90s. I truly am not. It's kind of cozy and homespun, you know. I like the feeling of the 90s and the 80s. And I don't mean homespun in that it looks like a prairie dress, but like it makes you feel like cozy, you know. It's like when you're watching Stranger Things and like everybody's windbreakers and the floral wallpaper and the curtains and just the whole look of the show has kind of a homey vibe. I'm not opposed to the 90s, but I am opposed to this. I don't want the black and white polka dots. I don't want the reverse black and white polka dot in this peplum skirt thing. I don't want this. It's also too long for her. But the 90s were making a real comeback, and not an homage to the 90s. I'm talking about straight out of the closets of some streetwalker from the 90s. We're pulling out this. Doja Cat comes up like this. Doja Cat, I need all of this to go away, but specifically those wispy bangs. You know, I don't mind big hair. You know, like I love some big hair. You guys know that I do. I'm a southerner like that, but I don't love this. The wave of hair with the wispy bangs coming out. It's too on the nose. You know, it's too much like a costume. This whole outfit looks like something that Streetwalker Barbie would wear. This structured suit dress with the plunging neckline and the bright pink neon chandelier earrings, the platform heels. What is all of this? There were other atrocities going on. I don't know who Summer Walker is, but she showed up like this. With the aquamarine fur hat, the fitted white bodice, and then these capri pants that ended with tassels from the lamp at your aunt's outdated old house. What the heck with the tassels on the capri pants, I ask you? There's too much happening here that I find appalling, but it's the capri pants with the fringe that I really am unhappy about. The fur hat, a screaming contender for the worst part of this outfit, but it's the fringe on the capri pants. It's like when you're a kid and you're at your aunt's house and it's going on and your parents keep on talking and you're looking for something to do until you start running your finger along the fringe of the lamp. And you like to watch as the little dangly things kind of fall back into place. And you'll do that for quite a while you wait for the grown-ups to quit talking. They said they were going out of the car like 30 minutes ago, but you're still here. Okay, that's all I could think about when I saw those capri pants, and it filled me with despair. Other people who needed a reckoning with the Lord, Let's talk about this individual called FKA Twigs. Don't know who she is, and I'm not hankering to find out. Let's start with her hair. We've sculpted the hair into what appear to be headphones, but I also don't know why we chose to wear our gunmetal teeth. Okay, talk about decay. She looks like she came up out of her mama's womb eating Sour Patch Kids, and this is the best that the dentist could do for her. We also have a dress made out of what appears to be beef jerky, and I need to know why we aren't doing eyebrows anymore. Okay? Ariana Grande with her sad little I'm so helpless eyebrows are bad enough, but at least she has them. Where are this girl's eyebrows? Miley Cyrus, where are your eyebrows? The eyebrows are a necessary part of the face. And we can have trends about making them thinner or thicker, but they need to be there. Sabrina Carpenter was walking the place, and she almost made it. I almost said, oh, this is pretty good. And then I saw her accessory. I mean, of course, it was like sexy. It's red lace and it's over a nude lining. So, there's all sorts of question marks there, but it covers everything, and I would have given her a thumbs up. But then she decided to pair it with this pink ermine thing. Yuck! I can't stand pink and red together, you guys. I don't like it. They don't go. And I feel like a visceral reaction to it. I just hate it so much. I was so ready to be like, looks good. That looks good. I like the dress. But I can't with that pink fur. It's yucky. I hate it. But I did like it better than this outfit. Why is this person wearing this tinfoil nightmare, I ask you? Skipped the hat and went for the full conspiracy wardrobe. This is hideous. But so is this, Jessica Simpson. Why? You just took a bunch of tulle and wrapped it around yourself. You look like you got in a fight with a cat. I hate all of it. There wasn't anything that looked good. Sabrina Carpenter's outfit was the closest, I think, to decency or to something that looked nice. Everything else was just junky. And of course it would be. It's the, Video Music Awards. What do you expect? But there's really only a few events where you can get excited about the clothes, and this is not one of them. But to show up on the red carpet with your gunmetal teeth and your beef jerky dress, what? That's hideous. I know you're thin, good, but everyone else is too. So unfortunately, it's not like you're gaining points. Go walk in Middletown American Mall, and then you can feel better about yourself. Go to a water park and, start your stuff there. If you need somebody to compliment your body, if you need to feel like you're cut above the rest, going to some event in LA where you have a flat stomach, I'm sorry, you're not going to get the points, you're not going to get the accolades. You're going to have to go somewhere into corn-eating America to feel like you really are cut above the rest. But other than that, since everyone's body is great, you're going to have to bring it with the clothes, okay? And this ain't cutting it. Well, that is all I have to say about today's events. We still have to finish Meghan Markle's show, so I'm going to try to get it done over the weekend. I don't know. I don't want to make promises that I can't keep, but I do want to make that final episode. And then mark your calendars on the 15th. That's Monday. We're going to start Entitled. That's the book about Prince Andrew and his wife, Sarah Ferguson. So that'll be something to look forward to. All right, I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I always love to hang out with you. I hope you find some time this weekend to turn off all your devices, go outside, have a conversation with a friend, go eat a good meal, go do something real and fun, and lock your phone up and just enjoy the other humans in your life. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.